Introduction. Why this map exists. Human experience is often lived in fragments. Emotion separates from action, action separates from meaning, and understanding separates from relationship. Attention is pulled between internal demand and external pressure. A person can remain outwardly capable while something essential inside becomes duller and less responsive. Yet the world keeps moving forward, and the demands of daily life remain. Effort can increase while returns begin to diminish. What once felt manageable can begin to feel heavier than circumstances alone would justify. When experience breaks down, it rarely does so all at once. More often, coherence degrades. Some capacities keep functioning while others strain, compensate, or withdraw. This book exists to describe the structure underneath that incoherence. In human life, discomfort is often treated as a problem to be solved. This book does not offer a diagnosis, a prescription, or a method of improvement. Its purpose is to provide a structural map, an account of the conditions that organize human experience and what follows when those conditions are no longer functioning well. It is concerned not with assigning labels or prescribing outcomes, but with making the structure of experience more transparent. Just as the physical world is governed by gravity, pressure, and equilibrium, human experience is also governed by structural laws. Those laws determine what can be held, moved, and integrated. The elemental basis of this book is not new. Earth, water, fire, wind, and ether have been used across traditions to describe human reality. Those traditions often frame the elements symbolically, cosmologically, or energetically. This framework treats them as operational conditions. It does not ask what they mean, but what they govern. What fails when their function is strained, and what becomes possible when that function is intact. The territory is ancient, the map itself is new. The Seven Fields framework describes function, not identity. It does not describe who a person is, what they should feel, or what they should become. It describes capacities that make experience inhabitable and the predictable consequences when those capacities weaken or destabilize. What this book is and is not. This is not a system of stages, levels, or attainments. Development is often described as an ascent, where lower capacities are left behind in favor of higher ones. The Seven Fields reject that approach to hierarchy. They are not ranks to be achieved, nor capacities to be outgrown. They are domains of operation that remain present in human life. No field is more advanced than another. No field resolves, replaces, or bypasses the others. Experience can move across fields. It may be felt, acted upon, expressed, understood, and integrated, but this movement does not make one domain more important than another. The original domain remains active even as experience becomes more coherent elsewhere. What changes is not the value of a field, but the domain in which experience is being organized. This framework treats polarity as a foundational condition of life in the material world, rather than a moral problem. Human experience unfolds through complementary tensions, engagement and withdrawal, expression and containment, action and rest. These polarities are not errors to be eliminated, nor ideals to be permanently resolved. They are the conditions through which experience becomes possible. Difficulty arises not from polarity itself, but from fixation on one pole while resisting the other. Coherence in this framework refers to the capacity to move between poles as the conditions of life change. What is appropriate in one context may not be appropriate in another. These fields describe the conditions that support full participation in human life, not an escape from it. Experience as a structured system. Human experience does not unfold as a single, undifferentiated stream. It organizes through recurring domains of function. Across wisdom traditions concerned with human experience, a common observation appears. Experience is patterned, and those patterns are not explained by personal interpretation or culture alone. Life is organized through capacities that govern presence, feeling, action, change, expression, understanding, and coherence over time. When these capacities remain available and responsive, experience can be inhabited without fragmentation. When one or more come under pressure, experience reorganizes through strain, compensation, or withdrawal. This framework names those domains fields. The 7 fields describe the conditions that allow experience to remain coherent rather than fragmenting. They are not symbolic ideas, they are operational realities. They describe what must be available for human life to be lived with continuity, responsiveness, and intelligibility. Uncertainty within an experience is not a defect in the system, it is part of what allows that experience to remain adaptive rather than fixed. Fields as containers, not identities. A field is not a personality trait, emotion, belief, or role. A field is a container, a set of conditions within which certain kinds of experience become possible. Fear may arise in the field of presence. Desire may arise in the field of relation. Anger may arise in the field of volition. Pain may arise in the field of transience. But the field itself is not fear, desire, anger, or pain. This distinction matters. When experience is mistaken for identity, attention is often directed toward thought, belief, behavior, or narrative, while the underlying condition producing that experience remains unchanged. This book is concerned with conditions, not content. Distortion, not pathology. When a field cannot perform its function, experience does not stop. It reorganizes. Other fields are recruited into that reorganization and become compromised in turn. When Earth weakens, for example, other functions still appear, but they are more likely to be driven by compensation rather than supported by stability. Fear may intensify and drive action where basic support is no longer secure. Attention redistributes and functional capacity shifts. In this framework, these patterns are understood as distortions or structural adaptations. A distortion is not a flaw, illness, or moral error. It is the system's intelligent reorganization to maintain continuity when the primary structure cannot carry the load. It preserves coherence under constraint. Because distortions often span multiple fields, this book avoids naming composite patterns such as victimhood, martyrdom, or narcissism at the foundational level. Those patterns are real, but they are cross-field phenomena. Structure must come first. How to read this book. This book may be read linearly, field by field, or used as a reference when life feels stalled, conflicted, or incoherent. It does not require agreement or belief. It invites observation. If this framework clarifies experience, it may be kept. If it does not, it may be set aside. the map does not demand application. Its role is orientation. A note on orientation. Reading a map is straightforward. Living inside what the map describes is not. From within one's own experience, adjustments and compensations often feel reasonable and necessary. It is not always obvious which functions are under strain and which are quietly carrying disproportionate load. At times, the presence of another person can make certain patterns easier to notice, not because anything is being corrected and not because answers are being supplied, but because experience is no longer being carried in isolation. With another present, some of the effort of holding can lessen. What has remained fixed may loosen enough for regulation to resume. Support can be useful, but it is not required for orientation. Integrity here is the capacity to orient alone when possible and to seek assistance when load exceeds capacity without turning either into avoidance or dependency.